This is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Now, first things first, this video is not sponsored. I was actually pretty disappointed when I first got this camera and ended up not using it for a while. I honestly felt like when I took it out of the box, the image just didn't look that great when I was shooting with it. But probably similar to you watching this, I keep seeing this camera more and more online. So I thought to myself, maybe I just wasn't using it properly the first time. Maybe I found it more of a hassle, or maybe I just bought into the hype. But I recently went to New York City and I wanted to bust this camera out, take a very small kit, and give it one more go. And well, let's talk about it. Since this video is about a camera, it's only right that the first section we cover is about image quality. All the clips you're looking at right now on screen are pretty great in my opinion. They're definitely usable for vlogs, social media, or even a quick cut-in shot for a client project. But I was only able to achieve this look after changing a few manual settings. I'll put my recommended settings on the screen here, but if you want actual technical video on the best settings, modes, and accessories, and a tutorial for coloring the footage, I've made a separate video that's straight to the point, linked somewhere up here or down in the description. When I first got the camera though, the footage looked like this. Now again, it's not terrible, but something about this footage just felt so low quality or unnatural. And I came to realize it was because I initially thought this was a camera you could unbox, literally power on, and let the camera do all the hard work for you. I was wrong. That's like breaking the fourth wall for no reason. If you want to get the best possible image quality out of this little 1-inch sensor, I found it best to use manual settings, just as you would with a proper video camera. Now, if you don't care to learn camera settings, it's overwhelming for you, or you just want to have a camera that you can use in full automatic mode, you can do that with this camera. You just won't unlock the full potential of it. This camera, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, thrives in the right conditions and the right lighting. But it really does show its limitations when it gets dark, which I'll talk about later in the video. When it comes to the form factor of this camera, I have to state the obvious. This rotating screen right here, this rotating screen is crazy satisfying. It reminds me of the Sidekick back in the day before we had like these smartphone touchscreens. I don't know how old the viewers are that watch this, or I'm not even that old, but I do remember having the phone where you flip out the screen and then there was a full keyboard for texting. And just the idea of being able to flip out the screen made it such a huge selling point. And I feel like the Osmo Pocket has that similar vibe because with this target audience, even me, just flipping that screen back and forth is just such a satisfying thing that I love about the design. I think DJI really nailed it with the build and design of this. Now, it doesn't feel overly premium where you want it to be super careful with it necessarily, but it also doesn't feel cheap by any means. The materials, the buttons, the joystick, they all feel just right. And the camera also has an attachment that gives you a 1/4 20-inch screw mount, which allows you to mount any third-party accessories for rigging or a tripod. But the most important thing to consider when it comes to the form factor of the DJI Pocket 3 is obviously the size. They somehow managed to fit a rotating screen, a microphone, a gimbal, and a camera all into something the size of our phone, even smaller than our phone. And when I was in New York City and I was walking around with this camera, I had no problem putting it into my jacket pocket, which made it really convenient to use whenever a moment arose that I wanted to capture. Now, the thing about capturing life on the go is that you don't always know if a moment will be worth videotaping. You usually have to just commit to taking your camera out and then let the moment unfold.
Show.
Show.
We have to create it ourselves. Okay. Cool
So when you have to take out a big camera and a lens and add a microphone, it just makes it more tedious to get the shot. It creates more friction between you and the moment, which often just leads to me honestly just leaving my camera in my bag, especially when I'm traveling. So the form factor of the Pocket 3 and of it being so small really helps remove that friction when you're trying to capture a moment on the go. Now, audio and what the viewer is hearing is such a large part of shooting video. So in order for the Pocket 3 to be a great camera, it needs to check the box of having quality audio too. Overall, I think the internal microphone isn't half bad. Let me show you. Right now, you're listening to the internal audio from the Osmo Pocket 3. Is this even a good shot? I don't even know. The internal audio isn't half bad. Now, it won't sound like a podcast when you're talking into the internal mic, but it's definitely usable if you're capturing a quick vlog or you want to capture sounds in your environment. All right, y'all, just came out for a quick lunch break. You know what it is, y'all. You know where we're going? We're going right there. But DJI thought about this limitation of the internal mic, so they managed to incorporate one of their other products that also fits in my pocket, the DJI mic. This is the DJI Mic 2, and they've integrated it to work with the DJI Pocket 3 in a very clever way. All right, got our Shake Shacks now. Gotta check out to the... Ooh, let's go! Look at the steam. Bro, I don't know what it is. But there's something about hot food in cold weather.
That was a 10 out of 10 detour.
Now, for those of you that don't know, this wireless mic by DJI typically requires a transmitter that is plugged into your camera. So there's actually two pieces to use this mic. But because they're both DJI products, DJI was smart enough to make it so that you can actually connect this directly to the Osmo without the transmitter. So quite literally, with these two pieces of tech right here, you have a compact vlogging setup with good audio. You can connect the mic wirelessly to the camera without having to use the transmitter. Now, the Creator Combo comes with the Osmo and a DJI mic for those that want better quality audio or intend to talk to the camera from far away. So even though I'm all the way back here chowing down on my burger, you can still hear me, and I could walk away and the gimbal will literally track me.
I'm so happy about this right now.
Now, there are quite a few features that DJI has included in the software. I won't make this a featureless breakdown, but I will share two that I find notable. The first is face tracking mode. This feature allows the camera gimbal to track a subject. This would come in handy if you're trying to film someone talking while they are moving, or if you want to film yourself and have the gimbal follow you while the camera is maybe on a tripod. The second notable feature is product focus mode. The camera will prioritize the focus for what's in front of it, and I find this super handy if you're vlogging and a lot of times you want to show something close to the camera. This product focus mode is great for that because it prioritizes that close focusing for the product or object you're trying to show, and this is great for your viewers, especially for things like vlogs. I would say this feature is similar to the wide focus mode on most video cameras or mirrorless cameras. All right. By this point of the video, you might be convinced on buying or keeping this camera. But hear me out. On this section, let me try to de-influence you. If you are on the fence, because some of the cons might actually be a deal breaker for you, and no piece of tech, or rarely are they perfect. There's always some sort of drawbacks. And I wouldn't be doing this video justice if I wasn't talking about the cons. So I think the biggest con for me was that it's not the best in low light. Now the image really only looks super great in my opinion in the right lighting and with the right manual settings. If you intend on shooting in a dark or poorly lit area, the 1-inch sensor on the Osmo Pocket will be pretty limited and it will be struggling. It won't look as good as, say, a larger mirrorless camera or honestly even your phone at times. In line with this con, you also need to shoot in full manual mode in my opinion if you want to get the best possible image quality and the most out of this camera. So using things like ND filters will be important, but this creates more setup, more learning, and it kind of defeats the purpose of a grab and go camera in my opinion. So there is still a learning curve with this camera, and that may either excite you or might demotivate some of you. Again, if you want to learn my manual settings and my simple process to getting the best image out of this camera from what I've seen, I'll link a separate video in the description so you can check that out. It's kind of a straight to the point technical video. Next is the lack of a true vertical shooting mode. But it's kind of weird. You can actually go like this and the camera will auto rotate. So I guess in a way you kind of can shoot vertical. So kind of unconventional, but you can shoot vertical content if you hold the Osmo in its sideways orientation like this. Feels a bit awkward, but possible if you want to shoot for social media, TikTok, Reels, etc. Lastly, the gimbal in certain cases may feel a little unnatural for your shot. Now, while having a gimbal on your camera 24/7 may seem like a good thing, there's something about a shaky video sometimes that still just tells a better story. In certain cases, even vlogging with our phone might look a bit more natural than having it be on a gimbal. That's why in movies, not every shot is on a gimbal. Every film or like something cinematic you watch, oftentimes they're doing a mix of handheld, gimbal, tripod. But with this camera, it kind of forces you to be on a gimbal all the time, especially for those movement shots. And that might be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on the type of content you want to shoot. At the end of the day, the Osmo Pocket 3 is ultimately limiting or ultimately freeing as a camera, depending on how you look at it. In my opinion, I think this is a great $500 camera for beginner creators or a great low pressure camera for more pro creators. Now, I think that no matter who you are though, there's probably a spot for this in your camera bag. And I find it really cool to see how many more people are getting into the content creator niche because of this camera and how user-friendly it is. This camera will be the reason so many YouTube channels are started, and that's pretty cool. I think any piece of tech that gets people more excited to take action is a worthwhile investment. If you found this video helpful or you're this deep in the video, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe. I'm trying to get this channel to 10K subs this year, so every single subscriber counts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next one. Peace.